Inaccurate kicking in front of the big sticks and a third quarter lapse were two key contributors to West Coast's first loss of the 2017 season, as the boys now begin the mad rush to prepare for Thursday night's crunch game against the Swans just 5 days after the MCG belter. Welcome to Eagle Review. Thanks for joining us again. Ben Roberts, good to have you with me. Let's touch on the game. The boys let a golden opportunity slip, I feel, to go 2-0 away from home. It would have been the best start since their 2012 home and away season. The Tigers are now remain the undefeated team. The third quarter, major letdown, and the bucket load of rain that came in that second half did us no favours.
Yeah, disappointing in the end. You'd love to be 3-0, 2-1. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. Lost a game of footy. We move on. Sun comes up today. Look, the Tigers were really good, particularly in the second half, and dominated a lot of stats areas. I can't go through them all. There was quite a few.
What were some of the key ones?
We'll come to the key ones. Inside 50s in the end, they won. We had 36 in the first half. Should have done better than that. Should have done more with that. Tackles inside 50, they were really strong in that area. They did say that going in, but their intent was strong. Clearances, it was just, particularly after half-time, they had at the coalface, contested ball, huge. Ground ball gets, once it rained, ground ball gets very important. They beat us in that area as well, so plenty there to work on.
It's a funny game, football. Just a week ago, we were praising the Saints' inaccuracy in front of goal, and just unbelievable. Round 3, the very next game, we have the yips, especially in that first half. It did play a massive part in that loss, but maybe not all of it. Yeah,
like a few of those were rushed of the behinds we kicked, but certainly missed a lot off the boot as well, and some didn't even score. So it's a different game potentially if some of those go through, but it wasn't the be-all and end-all, as you say. I mean, it wasn't just goal kicking either. It was connecting from mid to forward and halfback going forward. A lot of the kicks that would normally they connect sets us up. A lot of those were off as well, so generally disposal a little bit off.
Must commend Richmond. Fantastic game. They played very well, but you've got to say, probably 2 or 3 of their goals that they kicked on the day could be nominated for Goal of the Year. They were pulling him out everywhere.
Yeah, Dustin Martin. His kicking was a little bit off in the first half. Sorry, Dustin. Please don't come and find me. But in the second half, he came good. But the first half goal, sensational. And then Rioli, this will be Goal of the Year, I think.
Goal of the Year?
Goal of the Year, I think. Hard to beat. Eddie Betts says a little challenge for you. I know he's an avid viewer of the review. Goal of the Year.
It's going to be a little tense wait on Jack Darling. He's injured his ankle, rolled it, went over on it. 15 seconds into the game. Don't you love that as a key forward as well?
Perfect.
He'll have a light week on the track, Benny, but certainly one to watch from such a short 5-day turnaround.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big thing. If it was next Sunday we were playing, different story completely. But off legs today, didn't make it up onto the track. Find out a little bit more tomorrow after the scans come back, etc., because they scan everything these days. Don't be alarmed. They scan everything. I'm sure they're getting... I don't know they're getting scans, but I guarantee you, I bet you they're getting scans just to tick things off. But I think he'll play. He's played out the game, so... Depends on how sore he is, because structurally he can't obviously have any damage. I'm making this all up. He might. I don't know what's going on. He played out the game, which is good. Hopefully he takes the field on Thursday night.
Before we get into the roast of the week, a few commendable efforts. Andrew Gaff, fought on valiantly, 33 touches, 7 clearances. Luke Shuey, 30, a couple of quality games there. Shuey, especially creative when the ball goes out of bounds. He's just fetching it out of play, something to do in the wet. But Shannon Hearn, geez, I'm glad he's not getting 7 weeks after barrelling through George Costanza on the weekend.
Yeah, if he went through with it, he could have been...
Would have killed him.
Missed a lot of football, as would have Georgie boy. But pulled up just in time, and I think, the hands up saved him. But
speaking of killing people, what about the Brad Shepherd Olay in the middle of the field? He normally cops a few of those head knocks. And he's swung the arm. Geez, he connected him a beauty.
Just looking, just to get the ball across. Nothing sinister, these things happen, but yeah, got him an absolute ripper.
Rightio, roast time. Let's get stuck straight into it, as we always do. Jonathan Giles, a little hanger taken on him there by Alex Rance. Good game on JK, as he always does, but Joffrey, you're the ruckman. Probably don't get screamers taken on your head week to week. Jack Rewalt, well, that's a quality snap. You're the trained goal kicker of the team, are you? Yep, I think you are. That's no good.
Josh Caddy, he wasn't alone, Jack Rewalt. Josh Caddy, you want the ball, especially when it's wet, you want the ball to stay in your forward half. This one, you can probably just get it out of bounds, pretend like you're trying to keep it in, get a throw in, work from the stoppage. Tries the RC kick out of nowhere, tries to beat Rioli's Goal of the Year nomination, ends up getting the ball back to us. Wouldn't have thought.
No, he's trying to clear it for us. If we're doing the wet weather clangers, let's just get them all out of the way. We love them here at the review. Cochin's grubber, well, that's absolute rubbish. Daniel Butler to seal the game. Geez, when the pressure's on, that's one of the more horrendous shots you'll ever see, but he did have a good moment against Gov.
He did. Now, this is when it was sunny early on, and the track was quick, dry, a good 3. And geez, he turned it on, and Gov felt sorry for him, actually.
Had 90 metres covered, big Gov.
Yeah, I felt sorry. And then he got knocked over at the end. Then Gov goes, hang on, I can do this. And he goes for the old Phil Manasseh, goes for the big charge down the wing and doesn't quite, down the guts I should say, doesn't quite get the bounce right.
Lucky he got to get it back in the end.
Yeah, made it look a little bit harder than it had to be, but just wanted to get one back.
The umpires certainly affected by the weather as well. That bounce, that's an absolute shank off the turf. The boys, they weren't too switched on, the umpires, with the old Koch and deliberate call. Who you reckon this is? Andrew Gaff sitting right on it, and in comes from the third tier, old Joshy Hill.
The old 3-card trick from Hilly. No. If you go back and I was closer, the old true forward form. And did he do well?
No, it was nowhere out of bounds on the full. Well done, Hilly. I'm glad you took it. I think Gaffy would have scored. But our winners, they're joint winners this week, Benny. I'll do the first one. It goes to our bus driver in Melbourne who missed the turn-off on the way to training. And instead of going back and fighting all the traffic, it was just find the local park and get training done there. So you think Google Maps, it's all pretty advanced these days. Yep, I've got to turn there. No, that was back there. So that roast him.
Yeah, so we almost had to train on the Westgate there, but found a little paddock and all good. All is well that ends well. This is a great one too. Not often a journalist has a shank quite like this.
Would you consider bringing in Will Minson to support the other ruckman, Campbell?
It's going to be tough, mate. He's retired. Did you know that? Sorry, he's retired, mate. He's finished up. Well, he's an outstanding servant of our football club. But
can you imagine if he asked that of Mick Malthouse? Would not be here still. We'd be saying rest in peace. Even Ross Lyon, after a win, would have ripped him to shreds. Although he did go in and had another crack at Ross, but that's another thing.
Your game plan's out of date. Your style of coaching is 10 years out of date. Your players have got no skill. How can you explain that you won today?
Well, I'm not sure what you're talking about. I've heard the noises in the background.
They're always quite humorous when that happens. Roast.